Trump threatened to make Iran a parking lot if they didn't open the strait. Then
He
they
did
opened
that
the strait.
Sunday morning, Easter
Yes.
Sunday morning.
No, it wasn't Easter Sunday morning. It's Thursday. It was 2 days ago.
Oh.
Sunday, he said something else.
All right.
But he was going to make it a parking lot, essentially, so he said. And they came up with some deal, and it didn't go as planned because here Israel's bombing Lebanon, and right after 4 hours after the ceasefire agreement, and then they're, Trump is saying it wasn't part of it. It's just, I'm so sick of it. And then you have the, left, right, people on the left saying he's a disgusting person for saying that, which I understand if you look at, the genocide of Gaza. And then, but at the same time, I want to believe in my president and that he has a plan. And I'm tired. I'm tired because they closed it after the agreement and nothing has happened. He already threw his cards out going, if you don't do this, I'm going to flatten it, make it a parking lot. And now it's closed again and nothing's happening.
So
and it's just,
it was a ceasefire.
Yes.
That was negotiated.
Yes.
And they were supposed to stop all aggression while they try and figure out all of the details.
According to Iran, they were supposed to fully stop all of these places, including Lebanon. But of course, Netanyahu says no, and the U.S. is saying no, that Lebanon was not off limits, even though Iran runs the, what is it called? Hezbollah. I mean, I just want to go hang out by a pool at this point. Hope I don't get freaking bombed by terrorists in America.
Well, and I think this is part of the problem is that Trump making that statement, and it's really a line drawn in the sand.
No, it is.
And it's do this or else,
right.
Everything's going to come raining down on you. And then when that doesn't happen and you don't follow through with it, it was basically just an idle threat. And you really affect your credibility in making future statements.
Yes. So, and then I can't, and then I can't stand, and I don't mean to be like that. I guess, I can't stand when people are like, I'm a Trumper forever. He would never do that. Well, then why say that? Well, because he's trying to. I am literally so tired of the mind games, trying to think about the in-between or what this means or what that doesn't mean. I mean, I was almost happier, I think, with the fake news media because it's like, just tell me something, I'll go live my life and then move on. And, it's so screwed up.
I totally get it. And the people that are full on Trump supporters love to take it from the perspective of Trump is a master negotiator. And so he's saying one thing while doing another, and you don't really know where we're sitting, what the actual truth is, what's going on behind the scenes. And I think there's a lot to that, but I still don't, I handle negotiations every day, all day, not of that kind of scale, but you have some basic guidelines that you use. You don't pull out your biggest weapon and say, it's got to be this or else I'm doing why? And then like I said, it's a veiled threat because you're not really going to follow through on it. So you have to handle negotiations more incrementally. And that's why I don't understand him making that statement.
Well, also, you have people like me, and I think a majority of people that are on the left or on the right are just reasonable people in the sense of they're not the far left or the far right, where no matter what you do, I'd say more of the left. It's like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, you guys have groupthink. Not that conservatives don't, but we're more about independent business. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, individual thinkers, I think. But I'm sure you could argue that fact with me as well. But anyways, my point is I'm looking at this through the lens of professionalism.
Right.
And I understand he's the president and I understand there's things happening, but as our president, you also have to, and I understand Trump is not your typical president, which is great. Like, that's one of the reasons why I voted for him 3 times. So I want to remind everybody, I did vote for him 3 times, but you have to keep your cool. And at this point, this is not something yes, you thought you'd be able to negotiate certain things in the straight clothes. And they're like, no, it didn't go like I believe it was planned. But, you talk to all these people and they're like, no, it was planned this way. If you look at Trump, he meant to lose the war. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I can't be thinking of all these nuances and all of these war tactics. And to be honest, I wish there was a day that Israel would just stop freaking bombing someone. I mean, can they ever have a day where they don't bomb someone?
Right on the heels of a ceasefire to immediately start bombing somebody else. It's like, all right, well, maybe you do have an issue with somebody else, but handle one thing first. Just, let's separate them. Take your time here.
They've had issues with them forever.
I know they have.
But it's feeling convoluted. It's feeling like I wasn't even going to want to talk about this today because I don't even know what to believe or think anymore. Like, well, I know, so obviously I'm not saying that I don't believe that Trump doesn't have a plan, but it just seems like this plan is really getting screwed up and there's people involved that like Israel has their own best interests.
Well, that's
America.
What I was going to say. Doesn't it seem like when Trump makes a statement like that, there's a ceasefire that's negotiated and then Israel just runs off and does their own thing. It seems like Trump, we as the United States, don't really have any control of what's going on over there. We're not really, it's not we're not in charge.
No.
That somebody else is making the decisions.
I made a joke with you this morning. Not a joke, but like, it's like everybody knows how you are as an attorney, what you represent. You represent truth. You represent only taking good cases that are honest and open and honest and integrity. Can you imagine if Rafi came up to you and was like, hey, Ken, you know what? You should just take whatever case and tell people to lie and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden he'd be getting the good cases and you're sitting here saying all this junk about like, hey, come to me, even if you're not injured, I'll take your case and we'll make something out of it. And Rafi's over here going, hey, buddy, that's how I feel it is with Israel right now. Yeah. It's like Israel's like, Netanyahu's like, I need this, that, and the other. But then I digress because I don't know. I don't know history enough. I know from what I'm reading, and I am feeling like we have a little bit too much Israel going on in our America at the moment, and I'm not anti-Semitic.
No,
I just feel like the Trump that we voted for and the Trump that we knew is not, I don't know what to say anymore.
Here's what's frustrating. Think about this. One of the things that he was proudest about when he campaigned was talking about his first term where he didn't start new wars. He got us out of wars. And so we got all built up for that. Yes, we're going to, work towards peace. He's going to end the Ukraine war. He's going to end the Palestinian war. He's going to end all this. And then the next thing you know, we're actually starting
and
war.
He's swearing in a post on Easter Day. And I don't know.
It seems out of character. It seems out of place. It seems, again, like he's not truly in control.
No. And
that's what's frustrating.
And then what's frustrating is you go to the other people where you're like, what are they saying about it? And you listen to these other podcasters or news people like Tucker Carlson and who's the other guy? Alex Jones and different people. And now they're completely against Trump. And Alex Jones lately is saying he's crazy. And at this point, they're all crazy. Right. Everybody's crazy.
Well, and we had on one of the NBC channels. It just popped up while we were trying to get to what we were watching. And I think we were cleaning up the kitchen or something like that. So it's on in the background. We weren't really paying attention, but I finally said, somebody turn that off. I can't listen to that because it's just hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. And, I think when
and I don't hate Trump, just talking about this war thing.
I think when Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and people like us are talking about it, we're talking about the frustration with what we see and what we expect. And it's not just hate the man, hate whatever he does. So you're getting sort of this frustration from both sides. One side's just pure hate Trump, but the other is also, well, we don't like what's going on.
We're concerned. We're feeling like Trump at this point is, for better terms, working for Netanyahu. And that sounds wrong because people are going to probably be mad at me that I'm saying that as a conservative. But at this point, it just feels like Netanyahu is this person. And I'm not saying that he, in history, people could defend him saying X, Y, and Z. I just feel like the war mind of what's going on in the Middle East has completely bled into the United States right now, into how Trump is speaking.
It's frustrating that we don't know what to believe. We don't. We want to believe when something's announced on social media or in the regular media. We want to believe that that's what's happening, that there's a plan behind it. But there's so much misdirection and secrecy and conspiracy and all of that. We don't know what to believe.
Well, it's also, where's everybody making their money? Marjorie Taylor Greene now talking to Tucker is like, Trump's going to be out soon and we're trying to get all together behind the scenes. And then people are talking about J.D. Vance really didn't like Trump and Tucker introduced him to Trump. And that's why Trump trusted him and took him on board. It just...
Well, and that harkens back to the whole rhino thing. And are they really joining forces with the liberals? Where are the lines? Where's the loyalty? And we want everybody to get along. We want everybody to have similar ideas to move the country and the world forward. But we also have experienced a lot of subversion from prior administrations, just doing things that the majority of the country didn't agree with. And so it's like, where's reality? Where's truth? What do we believe?
Well, and, I'm going to say this first off. I am not the president of the United States, thank God. I don't know, given the position he said he was taking on the deep state and doing all of these things to try and wrangle in, stuff like the Epstein file and these crazy demonic people that are in control of a lot of things that we hear and see about. I don't know. So if he were to be in front of my face and say, you know what, you try to be the president and you try to wrangle these people in and play chess, you would look just as, as crazy as I do right now. I can't put myself in that position because I have no idea. I mean, I'm sitting here feeling crazy. And I'm just here with Gerber injury law and taking my daughter for a prom dress yesterday. And I'm feeling annoyed. And he's having to deal with all of these people. So I'm never going to sit here and say, I understand what's going on. But at the same time, I feel like there needs to be some lines drawn with how he's speaking to these other countries to keep him in power in the sense of control, right? Because I feel like he's making himself seem emotional.
Right.
And as a leader, you can't seem super emotional. Like he should be emotional because he's upset. And I don't know what he's up against in the sense of not knowing sleeper cells or what's going on in America. We have no idea, right? What they're trying to do to keep us safe. I have no idea. And I'm not saying that I pretended to know this. But at the same time, the things and the clips and all the stuff that I'm watching, I wouldn't have put, but then that's me. You look at this threat and it seems like it's an empty threat. If you don't open it by this time, I'm going to make it a parking lot essentially. And it's not done and nothing's happening. It's like, well, the next peace agreement and the next, it's a joke. I feel like we've become a joke at this point. And I'm not agreeing with him killing innocent people.
No,
I'm not saying
not.
that.
And you want to, or at least I do, I love the idea and I'd love to believe that he's a master chess player and a master negotiator and that he's 8-10 steps ahead of everybody else and he's got it all figured out. But at the same time, you're right. You're talking about him coming across very emotional and a little bit, off the rails with it. And, like we talked about when he made the comment about Rob Reiner, it was really emotional and not presidential. And we criticized him about that. We said, okay, you may feel that way personally. A lot of people may feel that way personally, but you're speaking as the president of the United States, and there's a certain amount of decorum and respectfulness that you need to garner and you need to speak with. And that's not really his style, but yet he does understand that. He is able to conduct himself responsibly and respectfully. And there are times where I think it's called for, and just going that far with it, I think is taking it over the line, honestly.
Yeah. And then it makes you feel like you start watching these other things that are crazy, like the guy that slit the girl's neck on the train, and they're now claiming he can't stand trial. And I want to get into this, Ken, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
He can't stand trial because of insanity. And so how does that actually work? So, I'm just going to claim I'm crazy because I murdered someone. Well, I believe you are crazy if you're murdering someone. Anyways, you have to be crazy in my mind to be doing what he did. But how does that work exactly?
Okay, so it's nuanced in the law. First of all, you mentioned insanity. It's actually at this stage, it's incompetency. So he's been found incompetent to stand trial. And what that means is he's not able to understand what's going on around him. He's not able to assist in his defense. And so the Constitution kind of calls on us to stop a criminal prosecution and just put it on hold until somebody is competent to stand trial. And so this is in South Carolina, and the laws in each state are a little bit different. Overall, they're generally the same, but it's a little bit different in how each state handles it. But right now, he's not just getting off from this. He's not just walking away. They've been able to get medical examinations of him and diagnoses that say he's not competent. He's not competent to stand trial. He can't participate in his defense, which is a constitutional right that we have. Even the worst people in the world are allowed to participate in their defense. And so the courts say, all right, if he's not competent, pause. We can't take him to trial yet. And yet is the key word there, because what they need to do is they need to institutionalize him, get him mental health treatment, get him on medications, whatever it is, to get him to the point where he is competent and can stand trial.
So how many prior victims does it take before incompetence is not an excuse anymore? It's like a get out of jail free card.
Okay, it's not a get out of jail free card. And here's what you got to remember. Competence is on a per case basis, and it's not overall. It's not that he can never be held accountable. It's that for this case, we can't take him to trial right now. So there's something going on. Maybe he's had it going on and they just haven't raised it as an issue in prior cases. But for right now, with this case, in this trial, he's incompetent to stand trial. We've got to put this on hold.
So you believe that, though? So you don't ever think that they use that as just a defense?
I'm saying that this is, no, this is different than an insanity defense. Okay. Which I think is more what you're getting at, because an insanity defense, they come in and say, yes, he did it, but he didn't have the capability to understand the wrongfulness of what he did. And therefore we can't punish him, but the end result is still the same. They don't walk free. They absolutely do not walk free.
So how does it benefit the prosecution to use that? It is prosecutors.
It's not the prosecution. So incompetence.
So who's defending this guy?
It would probably be a public defender. It could be a private defense firm. I would venture to say it's probably a public defender, though.
So who does the prosecutor defend?
The victim. The prosecutor is trying to convict him.
Got it. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, the prosecutor works for the state. You bring a prosecution on behalf of the state, not on behalf of the victim. That's a little bit of a nuance, because the victim suffered in this case was killed, but the prosecutor is not working for the victim. The prosecution is the state saying our state laws have been violated and this person needs to be punished for it.
So he's going to be punished at the end of the day, because everything that you read online, which again irritates me, is he's going to go away scot-free. He's going to get released, which I'm sorry, there's a lot of people that do get released. It's like you hear all of this, women baking their kids, men murdering kids, and I'm sorry. It's like, it's disgusting because a lot of people aren't put in jail. So let's go back. So this guy,
right?
What is it going to take for him to go to prison?
It will take him being brought back to a position of competency where the medical professionals and the court agree he now understands what's going on around him, he can stand trial. That could be a short term, a couple of months, 6 months, a year. It could be 5 years. At some point, they try and get him back to a state of competency. In Arizona, we limit the time frame. We kind of look at like a 21-month time frame when somebody's declared incompetent to stand trial. So you try and get him back in a very short term to where he can stand trial. A lot of times it's medications. It's getting him on the right medications to stop the delusions or whatever so he can stand trial. Then he goes through a trial. Now, what happens that I think you're alluding to, and I mentioned before, is the defense can raise an insanity defense and say, this is an affirmative defense, meaning, yes, he did it, but he can't be punished because he did not understand the wrongfulness of what he did.
So when you say can't be punished, meaning he can't go to jail?
He would not go to jail. He would still be institutionalized for a very, very long time.
So what's the difference? You're still stuck in...
You're in a state facility. You are restricted in movement and what you can do. It's not that different. It's not. Just one has bars and the other has white sheets. It's not that different. It's still being held in a state-run facility and you're not free to leave.
But they're more protected then. So like if you're in a prison, you may get beat up by Bubba, whereas in these other facilities, you're more protected.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Because someone might go and kill this guy after what he did in that video.
That's probably true.
So maybe they're, these criminals get benefit of being able to not get beat up by Bubba. And sorry if your name's Bubba and you're watching this.
No, the thing to remember though is the insanity defense is not easy. It's not easy to overcome. And this all actually, believe it or not, dates back to a lot of the law surrounding the insanity defense dates back to the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan with John Hinckley Jr. Before that case, it was up to the prosecution to try and disprove the insanity and overcome it. But once that happened, there was so much outrage about it that it's now, if the defense raises insanity as a defense, they have to prove it and a jury has to agree with them. And so that's changed quite a bit with it. So it's very difficult. They have to prove it by clear and convincing evidence. It's not easy for them to do.
So let me ask you this. So in injury cases, let's say somebody like the McDonald's coffee case, there's X number of complaints beforehand, and then there's punitive damages.
Right.
At what point does Irina's parents get to sue the state for punitive damages, saying if his criminal record is all in the same state and he got let go 10 times, where's the punitive damages against the state not having him in jail? Because if he was in jail, he wouldn't have been there murdering her.
That's a difficult one. That's not easy because in most states, and each state is going to be a little bit different, and I don't know the specific nuances of South Carolina, but don't forget there's sovereign immunity, meaning there are a lot of times where you cannot sue the state. And so for something like that, he gets charged with something, he gets convicted, he does his time and gets released, or maybe they look at the evidence and they say, we can't charge him with this, we're not, let him go. You can't go back and sue the state and say, you let him go too soon.
Who's going to keep him? Who's going to keep him? I mean, this is wrong.
No, here's where it comes. And I understand that. Here's where the prior record comes into play is in sentencing. Okay. So let's say they get him back to competency. He stands trial. He's convicted, meaning, there's no insanity defense. He's convicted. Now it's up to the judge to impose punishment. Or sometimes they have a jury actually make a recommendation of life in prison or the death penalty. But the judge is actually the one that imposes the sentence. The judge can then look at, let me see his prior record. Oh, he's done it, these other times. He did this crime. This guy is a menace to society. I'm increasing what I was going to penalize him, what I was going to jail him for.
But I think there's like 8 or 9 other really bad criminal things that he's done.
Yeah, all of that comes into play in sentencing. And actually most states...
No, but it should have already been sentenced. He should have already been in jail. I'm sorry.
So think about it like this. If somebody gets, let's call it a minor offense. Maybe it's a reckless driving and they get charged with that. That's a criminal offense. Maybe they get some fines. They go out and they reckless drive again and they end up back in front of the court. The court sees that and says, okay, fines weren't enough for you. Now I'm going to put you on probation and we're going to force you to go to safe driving classes. Great. They complete all of that. They go out, they go through reckless driving again. Now you're back in front of the court and they say, you're not learning your lesson. Now you're going to go to jail for 30 days. Goes and does the 30 days, goes out and gets charged with reckless driving again. The judge will say, you're not learning your lesson. Now it's a year in jail.
Can't they threaten him ahead of time? Be like, here's your chance. I'd be brutal. Here's your chance. If you do it again, you're going to jail for 10 years.
Believe it or not, there are a lot of judges that say that when they're sentencing somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I've been the prosecutor and stood in front of a judge when somebody's getting sentenced, and I've heard judges do that exact same thing. Say, look, I'm giving you a chance here. Look at me. You've got to understand. Do not show up in front of me again with this charge, or I'm putting you away for a long time. And they will literally tell them that. Some people care, some people don't. Hey, real quick, if you're new here, my name is Ken Gerber, and I run Gerber Injury Law here in Phoenix, Arizona. If you've been hurt in an accident, I want you to hear me clearly. The insurance company is not on your side. They have lawyers working for them from day one. You deserve the same. At my firm, we take on car accidents, slip and falls, and all types of personal injury cases across Arizona. And here's what I tell every single client. You pay nothing unless we win. No upfront costs, no risk, just me and my team fighting hard to get you what you're actually owed. If you've been injured, don't wait and don't settle cheap. Give us a call. The consultation is completely free, and I'll personally make sure we take care of you. All right, back to the show. Think about this though, getting back to that John Hinckley Jr. thing with the Reagan assassination attempt. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Mm-hmm. He was committed to a mental institution. He stayed there for, I want to say it was like 30 years. So a lot of times when somebody's found not guilty by reason of insanity, their commitment in that state-run medical facility is longer than the jail time they may have served.
Ridiculous. You know, another case that is really upsetting to me is the FedEx case, where this guy driving a FedEx truck at Christmas was delivering Christmas gifts with a Barbie. And he claimed he hit the 7-year-old. She died, which we can all see in the video or the pictures that she was not dead. That was not the case in his truck. And he strangled her and killed her, and they had to find her body. Horrible.
That's horrific.
I mean, it's just, I look at these videos, I look at the news, and we live amongst animals. Animals.
Yeah.
Animals. So what I guess he did was, and maybe it's come out that this is not the case. From what I read, he bumped her with the truck or something. She didn't die. So he got scared that she was going to tell her dad and he was going to get fired. So he grabbed her. And there's video of him talking about what a 250-pound male could do to a 67-pound female or something, or child. Guys, like, what in the heck is happening in America? Like, what is happening? So what is going to happen? Like, FedEx is on the line, right? It's not just this defendant, right?
I haven't heard specifically about.
I mean, would they be?
I think there's definitely an investigation going into it. I haven't heard.
And his attorney is claiming that because he has autism, he's competent to drive a FedEx truck. You would hope that FedEx would say, hey, you got some common sense that if you bump into a pedestrian, you're not going to murder them.
So criminally speaking, FedEx is not involved in the criminal charge against him, the murder charge. And you're right, it is absolutely horrific, and it's heartbreaking as just any person, but let alone, a parent hearing about this happen to a child. And some of the things that we've already heard really fly in the face of what's being raised as the defense. It's just not logical. If he bumped her, why would he then talk about what a 250-pound man could do to a child? That doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of inconsistency, and I hope and pray that there is conviction and that the guy is sentenced appropriately here. When we're talking about FedEx, You're talking about the civil side of things. Do the parents have the right to sue FedEx for the death of their child? And it's not an easy question. It's definitely something that should be investigated.
I mean, if I knew nothing about law, I'd be like, FedEx, you're done. I'm calling my lawyer. Your driver kidnapped and killed my kid. Like, I would think that you could sue FedEx.
Yeah. So
it seems simple.
There's a couple of things. First and foremost, is he an employee or is he an independent contractor? Because those two things are handled differently in the law.
They have independent contractors for FedEx?
I heard, I don't know, but I heard that FedEx is saying that he's an independent contractor. But here's the thing. Whether they say that or not, it's not up to them. They can say it, but the law is what determines whether he's an independent contractor or not. The law determines, based on the amount of control that FedEx has over this guy, whether he's an employee. Do they tell him when to show up at work, when to leave, when to take his lunch breaks, which routes to do, all of that. How much control do they have over him? And if they're exerting the amount of control that they do over every other employee, I don't care what they say. He's an employee. If he is truly an independent contractor, then that might break the line or the chain of liability and responsibility as far as FedEx goes. Even if he's an employee, that doesn't absolutely mean that FedEx is on the hook for it. Because we still have to look, anytime we're talking about civil liability, you're talking about what was foreseeable, what FedEx knew.
Well, do they do background checks on their employees?
Exactly. What they knew, what they should have known. And they should be doing background checks. Is there something in his background that led them or should have given them a tip-off that this guy should not be having contact with the general public? And if there is, then they can be held responsible. Here's something else to think about too, with regard to liability for FedEx or any other company in this situation. A lot of times in the law, an independent criminal act also breaks that chain of responsibility. And you say, we had no way of knowing that somebody was going to act criminally. You can't hold them responsible. But it's all up to what the evidence is.
You know what? I think nowadays parents should not let their kids play in the front yard. I mean, I know back in the day it was like, go out and play and come back home when the street lights come on. There's too many deliveries and drivers. There's Uber drivers. There's Instacart drivers. There's DoorDash. Everybody is delivering something at your house. And you have no idea who that person is.
Right.
You could have somebody delivering, scoping out the houses, coming to your door. I think people need to have a new way of protecting themselves and protecting their home. We always say, hey, just leave it at the door. We don't want to be answering the door. And then there's so many people that stand there and ring the doorbell and it says in the instructions, leave it at the door. So we have a ring and we say, leave it at the door. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me. No, leave it at the door. I think that we're getting too vulnerable with things like this, with this FedEx driver. I think we're getting too vulnerable where you do want to relax. Like, unfortunately, I'm a helicopter parent. Skyla called me a helicopter parent, our daughter. It's fine. I will be a helicopter parent. There's too many things to worry about in this world. And God forbid anything happens on my watch. No way. And so if you can, I would say have your kids play in the backyard. Don't just have them in the front yard. Don't have them opening the door. Don't have them answering the door. I mean, there's so many people that are dressed up like FedEx drivers or UPS that want you to open the door so that they can break in. And that's with an adult at the house. I mean, this guy is probably, if we were to probably really get to look inside all of these people, because I think you're right. There are a lot of independent contractors. There's a lot of people coming to your home. You probably would be disgusted at how many people come to your home that might have murdered someone a month ago. That is a criminal. You have no idea. And so I think we have to have a new standard with all of these delivery people of how you are protective of your kids.
Well, how many times do we say it? Times have changed from when we were kids.
Yep.
It was go out and play outside, come back, before the street lights are on.
And if you had a package, it was like on Saturday they delivered, or you had to go to the post office to get bulk pickup.
Right. It is a different world. It's a shame that it is a different world, but it is. And I think we have to face that reality. And you're right. There are literally dozens of people, all different, that come to our door in a given week with the different deliveries, and you don't know who's there. And as much as parents want to be nostalgic about their own childhood and how they were raised, you can't do it the same way. And as much as the kids say, I want to go outside, I want to go out front, maybe they don't have a backyard, maybe it's, whatever, you've got to come up with something else.
Play inside or go with them somewhere.
Yeah, I agree too.
So this happened in November 2022. Why did it take so long? Why is this taking so long?
So with criminal defense, there's a lot of things that have to happen. You have to go through the process. Now, a criminal defendant can invoke the speedy trial rule. We saw that with the O.J. Simpson case, where they pushed it to trial quickly and it worked in their benefit. But a lot of times, most often what you see from the defense is you see them waive speedy trial and then just start filing motion after motion, doing discovery, taking depositions.
That just sounds like it's making the attorneys money. What does that have to do with it?
And it very well could have been. It very well could have been. It could have been a public defender, but a lot of times if somebody has the money for a defense, they're paying the defense attorneys to come up with things that they can think of to try and chip away at the evidence, chip away at what ends up, get rid of the death penalty, get that off the table, negotiate that away, try and suppress evidence, try and take depositions, try and hire experts. Maybe they considered an insanity defense at one point, and they had to have time for the experts to evaluate. There's just a lot of process and procedure that it has to go through to get to the point of going to trial.
I could never be somebody that defended somebody that I think. So do you think a lot of these criminal attorneys only take cases that they believe they're innocent, or do they take cases and they know they're guilty? Something like this. I mean, how can you live it with yourself at night? Looking at this little girl, knowing he strangled her. I mean, it's just disgusting.
I mean, I totally get that. And I personally agree with you. It's hard to take on a case that you are not convicted to follow through on. I will tell you that, and we get this training in law school. You're supposed to look at it from the opposite perspective, and you're supposed to be able to say, okay, the Constitution has safeguards in place so that people don't get wrongfully convicted. And maybe that's clearly not been the case for this one. But you still, as an attorney, as a criminal defense attorney, they probably still look at it in terms of, let's make sure that the prosecution jumps through every hoop that they're supposed to jump. So that way I know that I did my job in protecting this guy's rights. And then if he's eventually convicted, then that was the right thing.
I know, but still, I mean, these attorneys are humans. I mean,
right?
They're humans.
Right.
You can't tell me anybody looking at that evidence didn't know that man should not have that 7-year-old in that truck.
I totally agree with you.
No, I mean, like, let's just be human for a minute.
No. I totally agree.
Because it just feels like attorneys are told to play the game and just be cold and have no emotions about it. And I think that's what makes people not like attorneys.
True.
It
Very
makes
true.
them feel like just for the buck, you would defend a murderer or a rapist of children that you have the evidence that dude did it or that female did it. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't do it.
I think they see it.
I'm talking about the ones that they know.
Yeah, I think they see their job as maybe not getting the person off of the charge altogether, but how can you best reduce the effect that it has on that person, the sentence.
No.
I'm not saying it's right.
Ew.
No, I'm just telling you that's the mindset.
I'm sorry. Any rapist of a kid, you deserve your wiener to be chopped off. And I'm going to say it.
I mean,
wiener,
I don't disagree with
wiener.
that. I don't disagree with that.
You're getting it all chopped. And then you can watch a dog eat it. That's what you deserve.
And then the judge should specifically order that. Put that in the order.
Wiener for dinner. Hey, so we found out this week that Rafi supposedly sold part of his law firm. What is that all about, Ken? Can you explain? Because I know all of you attorneys were talking about it on your email list or whatever it was called.
Yeah, $125 million.
But you said he didn't really I don't know. Go ahead. Explain, because it seems kind of scamish if you ask me.
Yeah. So what we really want is we want lawyers owning their law firms and controlling what happens with their law firm, because we have certain ethics that we're supposed to live by, and we want the focus to be on our clients. And so what Arizona did is they opened up the law to private equity firms to be able to invest in law firms. And so what Rafi did is he's getting around the ethical controls of the state bar and the Supreme Court, and having this, it's called an MSO, and it's essentially a management company that he's still a majority stakeholder in, but it's a cash infusion into this management company. So they do everything except the practice of law. They get so focused on making their shareholders
happy.
Money, making them happy. Here's the issue with having these private equity firms with millions of dollars controlling what a law firm does, is that you run the risk that the law firm, who's supposed to be protecting the rights and pursuing the rights of their clients, loses sight of that and is only focused on making money for their investors. And so that is a big risk. And I would say personally, you don't want that. You want a lawyer who's personally responsible, and the focus is on pursuing the case, spending the money on the case that needs to be spent, pursuing the case that needs to be pursued with the client's best interest in mind, not shareholders.
But how is the bar okay with this? They know what's going on, even though it's outside the bar.
Yeah.
Come on. There's so many fake little nuances with the law. It's just like, well, they can't do anything.
There's not laws or regulations that stop this from happening.
Wow.
And so that's the problem. There needs to be laws and regulations to stop it.
You know what I was mentioning the other day, going along those lines with these bigger law firms? You know, we've talked about how you've worked with these bigger law firms on not that you had to work with them.
Right.
With a settlement that's
our cases coincided with
Yes.
theirs, so we had to have some cooperation from them.
Yes, and 9 times out of 10, they suck. Let's just be real. Like, you're chasing after them to get their cases going. My clients need their money. But the truth of it is, if you think about it, do you really think the let's say they have 50 lawyers and they have all these other people working for them, your hand is on the pulse of the case.
Right.
You're a business owner. You have overhead. You also see them as a human being personally interested in what they're going to make on this case, because you own this. It's your passion. It's your desire to do the best possible for them. I can't tell you if I owned a law firm 50 lawyers down, if they gave a crap or not. I don't know. Right. And 9 times out of 10, what we find with these big law firms is, what case are you talking about? We have thousands. Who are you talking about? Oh, that case? Oh, that's been sitting on Bubba's desk for the last 12 months. Let me go see that. And you're going, I need this to be done.
Right.
We submitted ours a year ago.
Well, think about this analogy with it. Why would you go to McDonald's, which is the biggest restaurant chain in the world, and pay the same price for the McDonald's meal that you would at an exclusive steakhouse? You wouldn't.
No, what you're saying is, no, you said it opposite. Why would you pay a steakhouse price for McDonald's?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Because you're going to pay the steakhouse price, but you're going to get McDonald's quality.
They're still charging the same percentage fee that everybody else does, but you're getting that fast food.
And yes, will they get it done? Maybe eventually. You know, they're just going to push you here's another case. Hey, Joe Bob, here's another case. Oh, okay. What time do I get to go to lunch? What time do I get where every single employee, it's like a heartbeat in our office.
Right.
You know, and here Rafi is just, and I understand people, you need to live, you need money. I'm not against the man who does want to make a living. Okay. Right. But when we're talking about your personal injury case and him worrying about possibly, we're not saying that he will, possibly worrying about these stakeholders versus you who are invested in them and care about them at a personal one-on-one level. That's the difference you're going to get with Gerber Injury Law versus these big law firms that Do they really know? Are they really watching every single employee every single day for the thousands of cases that they have to make sure that your case is getting the most possible?
That's the question that people need to ask when they're thinking about hiring law firms. They really do. They need to think about that.
And so coming back to the whole Rafi thing, I think that people really need to reconsider, when they say, I got to call Rafi. Well, you can or not.
Yeah. And, think about the motivation too. Obviously money, but I suspect part of the motivation might be so that they can expand and go nationwide with the law firm. So again,
just kind of like Walmart.
Yeah. Again,
Walmart's nationwide.
That's going to really bring into question individualized attention for somebody.
But bottom line is you can go to Walmart, but you're going to end up paying Louis Vuitton prices.
Right.
You're not going to get a cheaper cost.
Right.
You're going to pay the same whether you get one-on-one 30-year lawyer, Ken, or some paralegal or attorney that's been doing this for a year out of law school.
Totally agree.
I would take my chances on Mr. Ken Gerber. So today we are at Channel 7.
Right.
AZTV, shout out. And we were talking to Brad Perry. He's a good friend of ours. And he was recommending a movie to us. It's called
The Outcome.
The Outcome with Keanu Reeves. Do you want to get into it a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess the premise is that Keanu Reeves plays a Hollywood star, and a video surfaces about him that destroys his career and his reputation, and he gets blackmailed. And so it really raises the issue of cancel culture and what happens to people so easily and so quickly online.
Yeah. It's like you could say, I don't like the bottle of water you gave me. And all of a sudden you're hated.
Right.
And the sad part about that is a lot of times they don't tell you why you're canceled. You could have good people and they're just criticizing and judging every little thing that you do.
Well, with social media as pervasive as it is, and with everybody having an opinion, people are so quick to come down on one side or the other. And they're making sides out of nothing sometimes. And suddenly there's a side of things. Which team are you on? Are you on this team or are you on that team? Are you for or are you against? And are you the good guy or the bad guy, or is it vice versa? And we're seeing that again and again in social media. And you're right. It's just, sometimes it's confusing what the controversy even is.
Yeah, because a lot of times they don't tell you. I can tell you how many people don't talk to me or cut me out. And I'm like, what did I do? I don't even know what I did.
Right.
Because
people
canceled. Just make a decision. And then also with all the AI and all the ways to clip, how many times have we seen different videos where it's clipped a certain way for even Trump? And it sounds like he was saying something, or I think there was a clip with Alex Jones where he was contradicting himself with where he was when Charlie Kirk passed away.
Right.
Or murdered. And one person was like, oh no, he was in the studio recording. And then another clip said he was somewhere else, but they said that it was completely different. But then everybody on the internet's like, oh my gosh, Alex Jones is lying about where he was at. And it's just, everyone's looking to cancel somebody. Everyone's looking to hate people. Guess what? We are really good at hating people in America.
We've gotten so used to everybody polarizing issues, one side or the other side, that it's just that is now society. You have to fall into one of two camps. There are only two camps on every subject out there. And whatever camp is not yours, you cancel them.
Intolerant, angry. We've cornered the market on that. You can't even slow down to turn left into freaking Starbucks like I've talked about before without getting honked at or flipped off. Or it's just, why can we not? Guys, you are experts. You are experts at hating people.
Yeah, it really has to do with the social media and everything that we hold in the palm of our hand all day long and scroll through. It's really impacting our views on life, our views on each other, and really our emotions.
And how many people probably end up sadly committing suicide because they can't face what's happening? I think there was a guy that, I got to remember, he was accused of having sex with someone at church camp or high school. I can't remember what it was. And he ended up killing himself, saying, just so you know, I am killing myself because I can't live with myself, but I never did this.
Right.
And you could be canceling, and you could be accusing someone of something so horrible that they never did.
Well, and that's the really upsetting and frustrating part about this is use that guy as the example. He's the news for that day. He's the outrage for that day. He makes the horrible step of killing himself. And the day after, he's old news. Nobody's talking about it anymore. It's just that we have outrage for a moment. And then we swipe and we go on to the next thing.
We're like Pac-Man. Remember that? You know the game Pac-Man?
Right.
Give me more news. Give me more dopamine hits. Give me more. Oh, you said something. I'm going to eat that up. It's like we're dopamine deprived, looking to cancel and make money. In this movie, they're bribing him, or they're blackmailing him for $15 million.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see that movie. I'd like to see how
Does God have a reset button?
Right.
Besides the flood, does God have a reset button?
That's the only one I know of that he's done so far. Asteroids and dinosaurs.
Asteroids, dinosaurs. Bleep, bleep. Start over. Y'all are freaking out of your dang mind. I'm done with it.
Well, hopefully there's an uplifting and good message at the end of that movie. We'll need to check it out.
No, there's no uplifting.
All right. You got anything else, Meg?
Don't forget, we got the defensive driving class. That is uplifting, and that is good news. We still have 9 to give away, and you just have to go to gerberinjurylaw.com and go to our driver's defensive driving link and fill out why you feel you deserve it. I think all parents should be sending their kids to a defensive driving program. Driving MBA is amazing, and they will get your kids safer than ever on the road. But fill that out, and hopefully you can be our next winner.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks so much.
Thank you.